guys, Yuki here. Yeah, it's been a while. Here we have a new game called Those Without Names. I don't know if this could be considered a visual novel or an ultimate game because I think it's more fantasy based from what I know. But anyways, it was an Amaran 2018 project. The first thing I saw was Earth. It wasn't the small 2D picture they always show in your textbooks or TV. It was huge and looming in the sky over me, and I immediately felt like I was falling into it. My body braced into the dirt that supported my back, and I struggled to get my breathing under control. The planet I'd never once seen with my own eyes filled the whole sky, so beautiful and terrifying and alive all at once. This is a dream. My body shifted to the earth as I drifted fast to my When I next opened my eyes, I wasn't in the field anymore. The sterile, wide room was almost purely white, and there was nothing more than the bed I lay in the center of the room. At first glance, the room seemed impersonal and cold, but the spaciousness and lack of clutter filled me with a sense of calm. I stared up at the white ceiling, recalling the beautiful swirl of colors on Earth's face. Hello. Oh, it's a girl's voice. A gentle feminine voice brought me out of my thoughts. I craned my neck to see a woman standing at the door. She looked to be in her 40s, and her serene face was slightly plump and traced with slight lines. Huh? When did she get here? I didn't hear her coming in. My stomach twisted and my mind locked up immediately as I tried to think of something to say. The woman smiled, the edges of her eyes crinkling into shape of crow feet. Her eyes bothered me somehow. They were dark and unfocused, even if she was looking at me. Still, the warm smile on her face softened her eyes, and I pushed away my unease. How are you feeling? She supplied a topic, and I swallowed. Fine. I didn't really feel anything. I felt that floating disembodiment. That floating disembodied feeling in dreams, like as if my body wasn't here. I didn't feel grounded. I wasn't solid here. Not in this place. Even with my ambiguous and safe answer, the woman seemed to know. She tilted her head and continued. What's your number? Excuse me? Your number. Everyone here has one. From the way she was talking, it didn't seem like she was asking for my phone number. Almost without thinking, I replied. It's 5132518. The sequence of numbers surprised me. They had held no meaning as far as I can tell, and I had no idea how or when I memorized them. Is it an ID? It's not the same as my student ID. I don't even recognize this number, so why do I know it? The woman laughed, but it didn't sound unkind. Just the last digit. 8, is it? So you're 8. What? No, As I tried to protest and offer my name, my mind drew a blank. The only thing that surfaced in my mind was a sequence of numbers, clear and sharp. I'm 5132518. I finished lamely. The stream was already going off to a bad start. The woman smiled. You don't like the number 8? No, you can call me 8. My number should be easy for you to remember. Mine is 7, right before yours. She continued to talk, but all I was concerned about was fishing my mind for my name. It's impossible. I can't remember it. strange. I've never forgotten my name before in a dream. So, this is like the afterlife? It's not just my name either. I don't remember anything else but that number. It's like my mind's too foggy to think. Let's go. I'm sure you don't want to stay in here forever. Seven continued to talk to us as we walked into the hallway. You reminded me of someone else here. Would you like to meet him? Huh? The nervous knot in my stomach tightened up. I squeezed my fingers together, trying to relax. I don't like meeting people I don't know. Sorry. You may have to. That's the only way you can leave this place. What? What do you mean, leave? You don't want to stay here forever, right? The only way you can leave is... Sis? A voice called behind us, and I turned around. It is you, isn't it? He stopped and furrowed his brow as if trying to remember something. I knew who he was in the moment I saw his face. Of course I did. He was unmistakably, undeniably my brother. The nervous knot in my stomach vanished immediately and my body relaxed, unable to stop the big smile forming across my face. I rushed up and gave him a big hug. For reasons I didn't understand, there were tears of relief trickling in my eyes. It felt as if though I hadn't seen him in a while. You're here! Hey, it's good to see you too. He gave me a slightly startled hug back and frowned again. I can't seem to remember your name. What? How could you? I stopped immediately. No name floated up in my mind. I tested and searched my brain, but it was useless. Well, we're equal then. I can't seem to remember yours either. That wasn't what you were about to say. He smiled back. He wasn't hitting anxiety in his words. Seven spoke up lightly. Good to see you and 8 do know each other. I thought as much when I saw 8's face. You two look quite similar after all. That's quite fortunate. It's uncommon for anyone to meet their loved ones here, especially at the same time. Maybe they died the same night. The words felt off, but I couldn't place a finger on it. As I mulled it over, my brother spoke up. Where is he? Where is here? There are many names for this place. You can call it anything you like. She smiled and tilted her head to the side. We won't be getting a clear answer from her. Why can't I remember my name, or my sister's name? His voice had an edge to it. He never did like open-ended answers. No one here does, Zero. Zero? Is that your number? I whispered to him, but instead of answering, he pulled his lips into a thin line. For a dream of mine, my brother was acting just like himself. Despite the tension in the air, I couldn't help but feel impressed at the level of detail. When you remember your name, you will awaken and leave this place. She pressed her hand to her eyes, rubbing gently as she smiled at us. Wait, please don't go under. How do you... Wait, please don't go under. How do we remember our names? By allowing yourself to remember. The ones that's hiding your name is you. Just like that, she disappeared. Her colors bled into the air like wisps of smoke. She faded. Even if it was a dream, it was a little unnerving to see her disappear in front of us. Don't go under. I echoed my brother's irregular plea, and he frowned. They do that here. When a memory seizes you, you disappear like how she did. When it's through, you wake up here again, just not the same place usually. It happened suddenly too, so you can imagine how hard it is to hold a proper conversation with anyone here. He threw one last glare over the space where Seven had once stood and turned around. Let's go. I don't feel like hanging around here anymore. I followed him as he walked down the long hallway. So, sis, when did you first wake up here? I can't believe I ran into you. I woke up just now. Seven just brought me out of that room. So, that was your room? It seemed weird that I would own a room in a place I just arrived at, but I nodded anyway. Even without an explanation, places. They try to be accommodating. Feel free to drop on by whenever you want. Sometimes I sleep here. Sleep? How can you sleep in dreams? You feel tired even in a place like this? It's not so much actual tiredness, but after a few rounds of going under memories, you want to stop thinking about things. It's not really like sleeping, but more like losing consciousness. I don't know. It'll make more sense when you try in your own mind. You've experienced a memory already? At my question, he frowned and looked away. Yeah, I guess. His answer was glum, and I wondered what kind of memories he recalled since down here. It's like reliving something again, but some things are blurred out. He looked down, gripping his headphones tightly. When he next spoke, his voice was quiet. I don't like it here, sis. What do you mean? It's just a weird dream, I added in my head. Still, I figured my brother wouldn't appreciate me calling him a figment of my imagination. Not remembering anything clearly, having to relive memories. The number of our names, it bothers me. I don't like it. Is that why you're calling me sis and not 8? Doesn't it bother you that your name is reduced to a number? Why can't we remember our names? He sounded agitated. This is really bothering him. I know he doesn't like 0. Just call you brother. Should I call you brother? It's probably wrong. Since you're calling me sis, should I call you bro? Aw, yeah! I caught him off guard and was waiting before finally laughing. Bro? Really? I could call you brother, but it sounds like the one movie with the bears. No, bro is fine. Go on, try it. Bro. He snickered. I whacked his arm lightly, feeling ridiculous. Brother to his mood visibly lifted. He shifted his focus back to the matter at hand. So what should we do now? I thought since we were in this together, we could have remembered each other's names, but that doesn't seem to be the case. 7 sits in our memories. Did you find out anything in yours? I've only been under choice or so. Nothing so far as I can tell. But I think a little clearer afterwards. You know how each time you fit a piece into a puzzle, it becomes a little more complete? That's what experiencing memories feels like, fitting puzzles in your scattered mind. I tried not to smile at his analogy. I didn't know I missed him this much. Had it really been that long since I'd seen him? So the reason I feel like I'm sitting in cotton and not remembering much is because I haven't started fitting puzzle pieces of my mind together? Yeah, that's it. Tell me, how much do you remember? I tried to think, but my mind was empty and responsive. I remember a few things, such as being a student in a small college, my brother and my parents, but when I try to think about recent events, I drew a blank. Not much. See, that's what I need. You're calmer than I expected. Well, this is a dream, right? Even as I thought, I began to feel doubtful. My brother was acting too much of his own accord for me to be dreaming. At the very least, this wasn't an ordinary dream. But people can't share the same dream, right? It's not possible. I think memories are more likely to happen when something reminds you of it. I see. My brother's anxiousness is rubbing off on me. Now I wanted to wake up too, even if it meant fulfilling the strange conditions of remembering. Let's start somewhere simple then. I thought of for a while before putting out his headphones. Like that. Music. I remember buying you that for your birthday. You goose. His frown deepened, and I wondered if he really forgot the noise pulsing out of his ear every day for a few years before I brought those headphones in. Yeah, I think I remember now. You didn't even know what noise canceling headphones were when you went out to buy them for me. If it's anything by the name, it makes them less noisy, which is what happened after I bought them for you. Mom's house was a lot more peaceful afterwards. He laughed at my joke, rubbing lightly at his eyes. The motion reminded me of Seven as she disappeared, and my stomach nodded nervously once again. Are you going under another Sure, you're going to have to do it eventually, too. He paused as he thoughtful. Speaking of music, I have a friend here. Want to come meet him? This was different from when Seven asked if I wanted to meet someone new. I was by myself when she asked, and the mere thought of having to handle small talk with a stranger I barely knew felt terrifying. But now my brother was here, I wouldn't be left to handle people on my own. With that one in mind, I nodded. My brother led me into the hallway into a different area of the building. There were several larger rooms here, all looking like they were meant for various activities. I followed my brother in one of them, where a stranger was staring down at a keyboard. 13. Hey man, back from your walk? I want to know what you think about this. His eyes landed on me. Who's the chick? 8. I nodded the new guy and tried to think of something to say. He seems friendly. Should I be polite? Or maybe I should be casual? But if I'm too casual, what if he expects me to talk normal? My mind locked up and my stomach started to feel queasy. I was taking too long to come up with a reading and I felt myself starting to panic. I turned to my brother and said, "Stop being so nervous. Come on, have courage, Julie." I didn't know they had rooms like this here. The words came out in a whisper, but my brother didn't mind. He nodded with a small frown. I don't even know where here is. There are a lot of rooms like this in the building. I heard the rooms change depending on the person last standing. Does it ever change for you? Sometimes. It doesn't make much difference to me. I looked around the room with interest. It was filled with all sorts of instruments and equipment that I couldn't name, and there was a computer tucked in the corner. I immediately felt drawn to it upon leaving. No one knows that for music. Why not? What's the point of this phase here then? My voice sounded more normal as I looked at the computer with disappointment. It's the music, silly. I looked at the web console next to the computer filled with so many knobs and sliders that I felt a headache. That's an audio mixer. 13 prefers the mixer because he likes to turn knobs, but the DAW does the same job just fine. I don't know the tech speak here, so I'm sorry. If there is anybody that's into music and does recording stuff, like professional-ish wise, let me know. Pretending to know what my brother was talking about, I turned my attention back to the computer monitor. I saw a program I didn't recognize with the rows of squiggly lines and buttons. That's the DAW. We were going through some sample packs, actually. My brother explained as I looked at it blankly. What's a DAW? Same thing I would ask. You know, a digital audio workstation. The program you use for producing music. Interested? I recommend the mixer though. Excuse me. Once you've used this one, the internal one just can't cut it. 13's voice came over my shoulder and I flinched and shook behind my brother's back. Stop being a baby! Whoa, sorry, didn't mean to scare ya. She's a junky one, ain't she? She's a bit shy. Didn't look that way when you guys were talking. Is she your girlfriend? Ew! No! We both immediately yelled in unison, taking 13 by surprise. Don't be sick, she's my sister. Oh, yeah, I see the similarities between you two. My bad, you just do get along really well, that's all. I know, for siblings and close in age. Yeah, we get that a lot. Seriously, grinned widely at him, leaving him like he thought the silence. I have a few brothers too, but I haven't run into any of them here. It's pretty cool you guys knowing each other. I exchanged glances with my brother and he shrugged. This is 13, by the way. We should really think about this. You're calling him 3. Don't call me that. That's so uncool. Who the hell wants to be called about three? What's so bad about being three? So you decide on the last two digits of your number instead? I spoke carefully, not wanting to come up more rude than I already had. To my relief, it didn't seem 13 cared about my earlier one. Yeah, see, 3 is lame, but 13 sounds so much cooler, don't you think? Sounds unlucky if you ask me. I stifled a laugh. I had to thought the same thing too, though I kept my thoughts to myself. My brother would voice his, and more often than not, our opinions are similar. Yeah, well, who asked you? You don't know a good name from a lame one. Besides, there's already a 3 walking around somewhere. Seriously, doesn't that mean you just spent the last few minutes insulting their name? I listened to their banter absently, looking at the computer screen to see the lines of their music were. I remember this site before, a long time ago. My brother's room. His computer screen looked just like this one. There was a strange sensation prickling at the back of my eyes, and I rubbed my eyelids. I suddenly felt so distant, like I was falling away from where 13 of my brothers stood talking. It was the first time he composed something of his own. He fidgeted nervously as he put on the headphones to listen. I don't know anything about music, I admitted to him, and he laughed. It's all right. You can at least tell me if you like it or not. He pressed play and the soft lifting tune started. Aware that my brother was watching me, I closed my eyes in an attempt to shut him out. I wanted to give him my full attention to the song. The music swelled, its notes high and electronic. Even if it was an experience, I could tell it was more than good. My heart lifted together with the song, and I thought it must be what it felt like to fly. The beat resonated in me, and for a moment I thought it was beating in time with my heart. After it ended, I opened my eyes. What do you think? I saw him mouth to me, and I grinned at him as I took off the headphones. It's amazing! You did this by yourself? He nodded, looking relieved. It's a little rough, so I wanted to know what you thought. I think it's great, but I don't know a thing about music. Why don't you show it to your friends? No! He was appalled at the mere thought, and I looked at him curiously. Why not? This is really good. Because I'm not sure of it yet. But you showed it to me. You wouldn't make fun of me. My brother turned away, sounding embarrassed and uncertain as if he talked about his song. I wasn't used to seeing this side of him. He was usually so confident and sure of himself. Right then I knew how much his first song meant to him. This wasn't the time to play around. No one will make fun of this. You think so? Yeah, and if they do, I'll smack them. I waved my arm around in a show of bravado as he relaxed into a playful laugh as he swatted my arm away from his face. You can't even look people in the eye. Trust me, I wouldn't have to look to lay one on them. He looked discreet again, this time his face less nervous and more hopeful. You really think it's good? Why would I lie to you? Maybe I should bring Mom in to listen. God, no, even if you did, she'd just call it noise. I rolled out of his way as he tapped on his keyboard back into his composer mode. As I watched him, I felt a mix of envy and pride. I didn't have the skill or motivation to make anything creative. It was amazing that he already made his first song. Well, I just ate snacks in front of my computer watching videos on the internet. Okay. I was satisfied, but my brother was different from me. There were things he wanted to accomplish in a field far away from me, and I would never understand. I felt a little lonely somehow, like I was being left behind. At the same time, I was so proud of him. He was passionate about his music, a drive inside of him that I'd quietly admired for a long time. I knew how hard he worked. We grew up together after all. I would never admit it, but I couldn't be more proud. My brother composed his first song that day. Man, it's only the first part and I'm already getting teary-eyed. When I came out of my memory, I wasn't in the studio any longer. I got up from the bed, feeling dazed and disoriented. It took me a while before I recognized the room was mine. So this is what he meant by not waking in the same place. Did I just experience a memory? I searched my mind and it felt a little clearer now with a memory to look back on. Yep, looks like the more memories I recall, the better I can think. Sight of me, and now it was too awkward to turn around and escape. He waved as he walked up. Yo, wait! The nervous knots were back, and I squeezed my fingers in my hands as I thought he was going to say, hi. He didn't seem to notice my weak voice as he leaned against the wall, and his arms across his chest. His height meant I had to crane my neck to look at him, and it made me uncomfortable. Man, you surprised me. One minute you're there, the next you're gone in a blaze of colors. Zero said that it was probably your first time going under a memory. Not that scary, right? I shook my head silently, too quick to talk. So you woke up here, huh? You know, one of my memories landed far off from this place. I thought I was on a different planet and very nearly lost my damn mind trying to make my way back. So when I saw your bro hanging around outside, I grabbed his arm like he was my last lifeline. Please, man, you gotta help me back, I said to him, and he gave me this weird look and was like, you're that guy who's been walking around in circles looking ready to burst into tears. Turns out the building was right over the hill where I was. I circled the hill an entire time, for 8 goddamn rounds, Zero said. Just like your name. I couldn't help it. I finally broke into a smile. 13's face brightened and he flashed me a grin. Yeah, so don't trust me with any direction, though. The only direction I can get to safely is under. Are you lost right now? I was until I saw you. I was like, is that a pickup line? Yeah. He waggled his eyebrows at me and I tensed up again. Is he hitting on me? No, I can't handle this. Panic was rising up in my chest again, and this time I was alone without my brother to turn to. The only thing I could do was escape. I turned around quickly and started to walk off. 13 hurried after me, sounding flustered. Wait, I didn't mean anything by it. Your brother asked me to keep you company if I ever goes under. Oh. Is that why my brother wanted to introduce me to 13? I remember how I stopped him from going under a memory and felt a twinge of guilt. Yeah, you should. You should. He was worried that I'd be scared off by myself. If I run away now, he'll just worry about me more. I have to try. I stopped and let 13 catch up to me, squeezing my fingers again. I silently told myself to be brave, trying to loosen the nervous knot in my stomach. 13 wheezed dramatically, bent over like he ran a marathon, even though he was only chasing me for a few minutes. Man, you really do scare easy. Sorry, I know people. That's what Zero said too. In the meantime, feel free to treat me like your brother while your real one is off frolicking in the fields of the sea. Ow. That sounds too clingy. No, I frolic? I smiled nervously. He doesn't frolic. Well then, if you ever wanted a frolicking brother, I wouldn't disappoint. It takes one heck of a workout, though. I'd demonstrate, but I'm afraid I'd probably pass out. I'll frolic for you when it's a state of national emergency. He smiled cheerfully, not looking too bothered by his health. Looks like he snows easily. Asthma? Despite how much I wanted to hide away, 13 insisted on keeping me company. We walked around for a while before finally running into my brother. I felt relieved as soon as I saw him. I was slowly reaching my limit of socializing with strangers, and I was glad that I wasn't alone anymore. Hey! Hey, yourself. He sounded weak as he shook his head lightly. I remember how disoriented I felt when I came out of the memory, too. How was it? He directed the question at me, and I knew he was talking about my memory. It wasn't bad. What about you? He was like my hesitant lighter. He nodded at 13. Thanks for keeping me company. I keep changing his voice. I'm not trying to turn down a request to hang out with a cute chick. Alright. My brother smacked him over the head in reply. Don't talk about her like that. It's creepy. How yeesh, someone's overprotective. So what do you want to do now? Ignoring 13's complaints, he turned back to me. That memory wasn't so bad. I wanted to wake up soon. So let's try it to trigger another. Again, you certainly were to dive in. I get tired after one, so I just wait for the memories to come to me. What do you... Wait, whoops, that was 13. What are you talking about, 13? You're always tired. Anyway, getting out of here is a good plan. Let's see. Since you went to the studio with me, let's do something for you this time. Me? I just want a computer with internet. You'll be hard-pressed finding something like that here. Oh, that's 13. Jeez, for a dream that isn't much you can do. Well, I never browsed the internet in my dreams before, so I guess it makes sense. Me either. But I do have some crazy dreams, which I hope someday will turn into stories. I know, the last love song. That sounds so cheesy. What? Oh, I used to be so into that. 13 gave us each a confused look as my face brightened. Mind filling me in? It's an old romantic drama. My sister's really into it. And you, but you will never admit it to anyone except me. Oh, there should be a TV in the studio. Let's take a look. Sure enough, there was a flat-screen TV attached to the wall. My brother and I stood in front of it, tilting our heads quizzically. Not exactly. Then shrugged as we watched a series of stills from the drama float across the screen in no particular order. Entertainment stuff and internet don't seem to function properly here. Rubber here is. I guess expecting the full show to work here would have been too optimistic. My brother suddenly chuckled as a familiar scene flitted by. It was a confession done in the rain, and the guy had grabbed the girl into a tight hug. God, the acting was so bad in that scene. I was embarrassed just watching it. I thought it was cute. Yeah, but I'll see stars in your eyes. I would die if I ever had to say that to a girl. I would die if I ever had to say that to a girl. I tried to imagine my brother grabbing a girl awkwardly, but like the actor did distorted. You just imagined something weird, didn't you? Don't be rude to yourself. You're not that weird. Another image flew by. It was a hospital scene with an actor was on the actor blinking as he fought back the pain. Uh-oh. My brother fell silent, just like I knew he would. Sighing the ribbon and a smile. Remember that scene? She got into an accident trying to save him, and she hit her head really hard. Ooh, foreshadowing. Don't say it. He was by her side the whole time, and when she woke up, she completely forgot who he was. And he ended up, all his struggles were futile. He finally decided to give up on her by throwing the bracelet he wanted to give her off the bridge. This reminds me of the vow. Except a little bit. Oh, he's crying! No, don't cry! What the heck? Zero, are you crying? Don't be stupid. Something got in my eye, that's all. Oh man, he really is crying over the show, isn't he? For a guy who said he would die if he had to recite a line from the drama. You're surprisingly romantic at heart, huh? Shut up, you're just jealous because Wes is more of a man than you'll ever be. Who the hell is Wes, and why can't you remember a fictional character's name but not your own? As we laughed together, I touched the bracelet on my wrist. You're going under again? I didn't know when it started, but my brother and I began watching romantic dramas together. At first, he acted like he wasn't interested, but when I played the DVDs in the living room, he stayed behind to watch. Soon he joined me on the couch, watching with me. He added his own comments about the acting, but he was just as glued to the TV as I was. When it got late, I would ask him if he should go to sleep. He always said no, and we'd stay up watching as long as we could without passing out. We began exchanging our predictions of the stories, who Who would be the first to die from a terminal illness? Who the antagonist was? What the plot twists would be? We'd rib the person who was wrong. When the heartbreaking scenes were on, my eyes would sting, but he would always be the first to cry. I enjoyed the time we spent together, even more than the dramas. Our parents divorced on my 15th birthday. I was too old to cry then, too old to beg my dad to stay. I was supposed to be old enough to understand, but I didn't. I just squeezed my fingers tightly as my dad packed his things into his car and left. My brother didn't stay to watch. He was out of the house before any of us were awake. My mom was crying in her bedroom. I was the only one to see my dad off. I watched his car disappear over the road and told myself I was too old to cry. Not long after my dad left, my brother came back home and gave me a sloppily wrapped box. Open it. I wasn't in the mood. I was angry at him for leaving me alone to say goodbye, for not being there to watch her dad leave. I pushed the box away, but he insistently pressed it back into my hands. Please. I relented, but only to stop him from pushing the box into my arms over and over. I could tell my brother wrapped it himself. The tape was everywhere, making it hard to open. I tore off the uneven wrapping paper with its bright and annoying colorful "Happy Birthday" letters printed all over, littering with small cartoon faces reflecting a mood I didn't feel. When the last shred of paper ripped away, I stopped. It was a limited edition DVD set of The Last Love Song. It came with the all-important bracelet in the story. I wanted so desperately to have it, but I was too late to buy it. They were all sold out. The only way my brother could have had bought it was for a price that was double the amount it sold for in stores. For me? I choked out the words, breaking my vow of silence for the rest of the day. My brother smiled and held up my buzz card. Get dressed, we have to line up. For what? You don't know? The writer for the book is doing an autograph session in the mall tonight. Let's go get it signed. I hesitated. There would be a lot of people, more specifically a lot of teenage girls. I looked at my brother, the one with too much pride to ever admit to watching the drama. I looked at him, the one who was so fiercely embarrassed about it that he made me take an oath never to tell any of our friends. He'll be the only guy there. So? Your friends work in the mall. He'll see you. I don't care. He lied. Of course he cared, but today was different. Today was my birthday, and he was determined to make it just a little less bad than it already was. We took the bus to the mall where we waited in line for 4 hours. He stood out like a sore thumb, one of the very few guys in a long line of giggling girls. He waited patiently beside me the whole time, and when I got my DVD signed, I finally cried. When I woke up and found myself in the same strange place again, I knew for sure something was off. I wasn't waking up. Time didn't feel real here, but somehow I knew it was taking far too long for a normal dream. This dream had trapped me inside until I could remember my name. I experienced a few more memories, once by myself and with my parents. I woke up each time alone and in a different place. It was harder and harder for me to stick to my brother, but the memories were pleasant enough that I didn't feel too afraid while going under. The routine was around sometimes, but he talked to fill the silence and it tired me. He was more in tune with my brother, and more often than not I found them together in the studio mixing something on their equipment. I hung around, but I usually felt left out. They shared the same world of music that I could never be a part of, and it was lonely. I wouldn't stay long. sometimes I ran into Seven. She learned quickly that I didn't like talking, but instead of feeling awkward, she simply smiled and pulled out some yarn. The clicking of her yarn needles filled the empty silence, giving me a sense of peace. We didn't need to talk, although sometimes she listened to my memories and tell me hers. I liked being next to her. She was homely and warm. She understood without me having to say anything. You know, I have 2 children too. She spoke once while I was half dozing next to her. I made a small sound to let her know I was listening. When I see you and your brother, I remember them, more about them. Her knitting paused for a moment and her silence felt contemplative. That's the nice thing about memories here. There are things you never take the time to notice until you get to see them again. So that's why she disappeared that time. She saw me and my brother and must have remembered something. We fell back into companionable silence. She knitting and me dozing up next to her. How long have you been here, Seven? I finally asked, my voice sounding drowsy. My brother was right. You didn't really sleep. You just faded out of consciousness. It was the closest thing to sleeping in this place. A long time. Her knitting slowed a little, but she continued to talk. As long as I don't want to leave my children, I won't wake. What? Her children, are they here too? I tried to ask, but I was too comfortable dozing up next to her. I slipped out of consciousness while the question still went on. There was the building. It was only the building. It had a hallway lined with bedrooms and a floor filled with rooms all over the place that changed to fit your interests. You could leave the building if you wanted. It sat on the hill that 13 once circled around 8 times trying to find its way back. The hill was the field where I woke up the first time, the one with Earth looming over in the sky. I found my brother there, looking up at the Earth that threatened to fall onto us. What do you think of this place? This is, he asked me without turning his eyes away from Earth. Being outside still made me feel dizzy, like this Earth would pull me up from the ground and throw me helplessly towards it. Gathering my courage, I half crawled over to him and sat down. I firmly grabbed onto the grass for good measure. I thought about my answer. A dream. Why? You phase in and out of memories without warning? You keep phasing through different things and you can't control it. The memories? Yeah, it comes without warning and takes you away. He looked down from the sky and a thoughtful look on his face. Things just change when you're dreaming. You're in one place and the next you're somewhere else. This is exactly what it feels like here. But we keep waking up here. In normal dreams, don't you usually go somewhere else? His voice sounded tight, almost challenging. I stole a look at him and saw the Earth and immediately regretted it. Yeah, we do. It's a weird dream. He didn't look convinced, but I knew I was right. It's more than just that. Don't you feel lighter here? My brother hesitated before nodding. Also, it's like my senses are dulled. I feel some things, but there are others I don't feel at all. Yeah, I haven't felt cold or hungry or anything painful. Exactly, just like a dream. My thoughts back to the sky, I gestured at the large cold face of Earth with my chin. And that, where else would you see something like this except in a dream? True. There's no way we can have a planet this large and this close without being pulled into each other's gravitational orbit. It doesn't make sense. That's why it's a dream. We fell silent, my brother still standing straight and gazing up at the Earth, while I plucked absently at the grass and ignored the sky. I'm not so sure about that. He finally whispered more to himself than to me. Did I mess up? As a child, my punishment was always getting locked in the closet. Man, this is awful. The first time I was put in there, I screamed until my throat was raw. I couldn't see anything and the space was cramped and small. I felt like I was suffocating slowly. The walls kept growing smaller. I screamed and kicked at the door and cried until I had no energy left, and then I just sobbed uncontrollably. It never got better. My dad had to drag or carry me in, and I fought with everything I had not to be locked inside. I always screamed. I always cried. The suffocating feeling was always there, and each time I truly believed I would die. Why should that have changed? The darkness in the small, cramped space never did. One day, I fought with my brother. Angry and too young to know anything, I scratched him. His arm bled a little, and I was put in the closet. Once I was inside, I screamed, this time with pure terror. It didn't matter how much I apologized. I was to be in the closet until my punishment time was up. I sobbed and screamed and cried until my throat was dry and raw. After a while, someone knocked on the door. It was my brother. Are you okay? I sobbed loudly in response. The walls were crushing me. The darkness was suffocating me. It's okay. It's okay. His voice was so near, I hung on to it desperately, even though my body didn't stop shaking, and I felt a little better. Don't be scared. I'm here. He was asking the impossible. Long after I grew up and was too old to be punished, I would always be scared of small spaces. I would always be afraid of the walls and the darkness and the space where I couldn't move and breathe and think and scream. I'm here. He patted the door as if he was patting my head. I started crying again, wishing I was outside and safe. He kept patting the door, hoping it would make me feel better, and succeeding just a little. It'll be okay. I'm here. For the first time since I came to a place, I saw a memory that frightened me. First, I looked for my brother, and when I couldn't find him, I went to Seven. She listened to me and patted my head gently, just like what my brother did to the closet door. You have a good brother. Her voice was soft and it comforted me. I felt relieved, but just a little lonely at the same time. She reminded me of home. I know. She smiled at my answer before returning to her knitting with a distant, thoughtful look on her face. I watched her as she knitted, her expression clearing as if she'd finally realized something. It wasn't long before she disappeared into a memory and I was left alone again. This time it was my brother who was looking for me. Don't die on me. Look at my charger. He found me outside, lying on the grass to stop myself from falling up. He sat beside me and looked at me strangely. I thought you hated out here. I don't hate it. It just scares me a little. Then why are you out here by yourself? Because when I'm out here, I don't feel like I'm suffocating. He fell silent. After a while, he scooted over and laid down next to me. The closet. I nodded, my throat tightening at the thought. I'm here. It had been a long time since he said that. I swallowed back my tears and smiled. I know. We looked up at the earth and the clouds swirling slowly on its surface. It was so impressively detailed, so real, so very much alive. Even if I was afraid of it, it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Why do you think it's Earth in the sky? What do you mean? It could be anything up there, but it's the Earth. I mulled over his question. You sound as though you already have a theory. I do. He paused for a moment, glancing up at me before looking back up. I think it's telling us we're no longer there. What do you mean? I swallowed held back my smile before realizing from his tone that he wasn't just stating the obvious. What are you trying to say? He hesitated, like it was difficult for him to say. When he finally spoke, he sounded careful, like he was choosing his words not to upset me. I don't think this is just a dream. And I don't think that's just a dream, Earth. I didn't like where he was going, and I felt my stomach knot uncomfortably. That's stupid. You don't really believe this is all real, do you? I sounded more snappish than I intended, and he noticed. He let out a sigh. It's just a hunch, okay? But there are things we can't explain just by saying it's a dream. Like what? If this is a dream and we're aware of it, we'll be lucid dreaming. You're supposed to be able to control your dreams. Sometimes you can't, but that's because you're not completely aware of it. I feel quite alert, save for not remembering my name and some things. How about you? I didn't answer. He was right. I was more alert than I usually was in any dream. In fact, this was the first time I'd ever seen such a vivid, detailed, and coherent dream. The implications behind his words frightened me. I wish for some things, you know? Like I really want pizza, and it shows up in the room. Of course I can't taste any of it, so it's pointless, but it appears when I wish for it. Because if it's a dream. Yeah, but I wish for other things too, and they're not granted. I wished to see Mom, even Dad. I wished for my friends. The silence stretched between us. I knew his wish didn't come true, because sometimes I wish for the same thing. I wished for people that I couldn't find in this place, people I could only see back home. All of a sudden, the Earth didn't seem that close anymore. Right now, it looks so impossibly far away. You're the only person here that I know. His voice was so quiet that it was almost lost in the wind and the sky, but his words stuck in my mind for a long time. It hurt. It's red. My whole body seared with pain. I couldn't move. Something was pinning me down. Help, I tried to say. My throat was choked up with liquid terror. I couldn't move. The space was too small. I couldn't see anything. It was too dark. I tried so desperately to move my body, but I couldn't move. Too small. Too cramped. I tried to scream. Help me! The walls were literally crushing me, blinding me with the white pain. I've never felt such pure terror in my life. I want to be outside. I want to be safe. I struggled to breathe, but all I could do was gasp and choke. My whole body was shaking from pain and stress. The liquid choked me, metal, small blood. Small metal and dirt and gasoline and blood. Help! It hurts! Please, someone to help me! I swallowed the thick liquid and gasped again, but it came out in a terrified sound. I couldn't breathe. The space was too small. We hadn't shared the same room since I was 6. It was hard to adjust to it at first, so he let me sleep in his room when I had nightmares. I couldn't help but remember that as my brother got back into his bed, he rolled over his side, his back facing me as I crawled under the sheets. I sobbed quietly, the feel of his back against mine comforting. In this place where nothing of home could be wished for, no matter how desperately you wanted it, my brother was here. The closet, my brother asked, sounding gentler. The nightmares of the closet never left me, even though it had been many years since. I shook my head, wiping the tears off my face. Worse. I think I was dying. I remember the excruciating pain and the smell of blood and metal. I remembered the walls closing in tightly around me, crushing my body down into the ground. But most of all, I remembered the cold terror of helplessness and not wanting to die. I had a dream. When my brother didn't reply, I continued. I think I was dying. I heard him draw his breath quietly. You're okay now. He reassured me, though it was such an obvious thing, I felt so relieved. Do you mind if I stay here for a while? Sure. I closed my eyes and focused on my breathing. After a while, I heard my brother's voice. It'll be okay. I'm here. I nodded, relaxing my body. It took a long time, but I finally felt safe again. I might not be able to wake up just yet, but I wasn't alone, and for that, I felt immensely grateful. I know. I think this is where we're gonna leave off. Thank you so much for watching. This is turning out to be a really emotional game, and I look forward to finishing this because I'm really curious about their backstory. And this is just really well written. I really like how this is. It's not really cliche. I like that too. It feels good. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!